We got to bring it tonight, fellas, because it's been a while since we've been on the airwaves, and that's part my fault, part Stock's fault, part just society and the way times go, and when we can do it and when we can't. I feel like I almost got to introduce myself to you, Stock, so I know we got to reintroduce everyone to how we do it because we haven't done it in so long. I was thinking, buddy, let's just break it down team by team. If we don't get it done today, we'll post another one tomorrow. But I think we almost owe everyone an opportunity just to go down each team and give a recap of what we missed. What to expect from this team, and maybe what to expect from them in the future. Because as you know, we're only going to play a season, maybe two. So if you want to make the playoffs, if you want to make your gridiron history, if you want, in 2012 at least, you better start now.
Yeah, time's starting to, the hourglass is starting to dwindle down now. So if you want to make a stamp or make a run, the time is now. So you have to put your best foot forward.
Well, if we're gonna run through every team, let's just do it. What do you think of the Cowboys? A recap of the Cowboys season, a recap of the Cowboys move. Just what's your general feel of the Cowboys?
Well, I can give a quick, overrun over the team because this is the first time I played runner, and I was very impressed. I mean, I remember we've talked about his struggles and this and that, but after my game, I felt that runner was really close to breaking through this little barrier he's been through, and the one key that kind of stood out was the flip-flopping of quarterbacks. I think he doesn't have the identity with Fitzpatrick and, Colt McCoy. In the game, he was subbing in and out with the two quarterbacks. He was playing the two quarterback system. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for him because he has some weapons. And, he has a good running back.
Yeah.
So in that case, if he can break through that, that quarterback dilemma, I think good things are down the road for him.
Well, I will say his quarterback was injured against you, his starting quarterback. He's got a very, very nice rookie quarterback who was injured against you. Or for some reason, he said that EA wouldn't let him play. He didn't know if the guy was injured or if it was just EA malfunctioning. But he did have a rookie quarterback who was supposed to play. And that's why, because I asked him the same question. I was like, why go back to Colt McCoy and, all these guys if you're going to give the ball to this rookie? You can't, keep subbing him in and out. And he said, no, it was either an EA malfunction or he was injured. So that's the reason you didn't see it, because he's got a nice young rookie quarterback named Hall who really has a quick release. I'm not going to compare his abilities to Peyton Manning. Because he's definitely not ability-wise, but just the release time, this quarterback is hard to sack. I will say that. And unfortunately, you didn't get to see the quarterback in action. But but you're right. He's that guy who, he does great things at times, and you think he should break through this barrier, and he just doesn't for whatever reason. I'll say another thing about him. If all you could do in Madden was run the ball, I think he'd be one of the elite players. I really think he understands the running game. It's just that passing game he needs to tweak just a little bit, and he could be really dominant. And maybe the last season, in fact, or going into 2013, I definitely got my eye on him as a potential playoff team for sure.
Yeah, and he did give me fits on the defensive side of the ball also, so he's very strategic in setting up plays for his defensive side of the ball also.
Yeah, the quarterback that you didn't see almost has 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. The quarterback is allegedly out of Michigan, so that makes me happy. But so we give a little recap of what we think he is, and we think he's almost right there. He's that guy who just doesn't give you a clear picture all the time. But if he did, he's the prototypical potential guy. You want to put all your chips in the table and bet on this guy because he has it all. He has the charisma. He's a nice guy. he knows football. It's just key things happen in key moments where you just can't rely on him consistently, and he knows this. I mean, I oftentimes have the same problem with my game, so we can relate in that aspect. What do you think? What do you think is a prediction or kind of going forward? What do you think he needs to do? What do you think he will do? How good do you think he'll do maybe in the final season of Gridiron Gamers?
Well, like I said, if he can get that that rookie quarterback on point,
Yeah.
I think he's got a maybe an 8-8 season would be a good start for next year, in that division. And the division's kind of wide open, somewhat wide open, but you could sneak in for the wild card because we know the Giants are cream of the crop. But that's probably his best bet. Try to get 8-8 or 500 or just right around there, and build off of it with that quarterback.
Yeah, me and Runner are very comparable in the way we play. A lot of times we do really good things at really good moments, and you think, okay, this is going to be their breakout season. He's coming. He'll be able to make some noise, because I know the Vikings have given me the vote of confidence quite a few times, saying, I think you've arrived. You just need to do this. You just, you're right there. And then I disappoint, or I just fail in key moments, and that's this guy's problem. Runner, he in key moments he just can't get it done yet. He doesn't have that clutch gene somewhere in his team, but he understands football. He runs the ball well. He's got, but you're right. He's missing that identity. He's missing the confidence to go forward. And I think once he gets that, he'll be a really good player to come. I think personally, 2013 is going to be his year where he makes the playoff. I don't see, I see him being a very good player, maybe having a winning record in the last season. I just don't know if he's got the pieces or the confidence in this game anymore to really, give it a good run. And I think a lot of people had figured out this game and know how to kind of, work around the system, if you will. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think this game is pretty much set in stone. The good players are going to remain good, and the ones struggling are going to, keep struggling, at least until, Madden 13. What do you think about the Philadelphia Eagles? I know Manny's absent this week, but he's really high in the Eagles every year. He really believes in this owner, and I like him. I think his game is good. But again, when you have that much talent, you should be good. I guess maybe that's why I don't give him as much credit. Maybe that's my fault, or whatever. You can take that up with me later. But what do you think?
Well, this year, he started off, out of the bat pretty well. I think he was undefeated for a little while, but he came up against the New York Giants and took a 52-14 loss. And Mike Vick did not show up. 7 of 12, 36-yard pass.
Yeah.
One INT.
That is a computer game because of
it was.
because of the allegation that he abused the rules, which he clearly did in my opinion. But you can read about that on the board. You can ask about that. We're not that kind of gossip thing. If you want that turn on Entertainment Tonight, you'll find plenty of it. But he's got one tie, and because of the tie, the Giants was basically allowed to play the computer for that week.
Oh, okay.
Because Manny found the Eagles responsible for the tie, basically. So that's where his one loss comes from. But still,
well, I guess the thing with the Eagles is he has a team. The player himself, he does good things. But like we said, we've always expected a lot out of him because of the players he has around.
yeah.
He has the dream team, so it's like, he always feels like he's going to be a Super Bowl favorite, but when playoff time comes around, it's usually one and done for him.
Hey, that's kind of the blessing in the disguise in having such a good team. It's not just us that do it. We do it in real life with all these teams. Whenever you can pile that much talent, and this speaks to his how good of a guy he is. We're not even talking. Most of the talent that he has been accumulated already, but he did make a trade with Manny, who brought in Clay Matthews, which I know you're very high on. He brought in Finley. So the GM himself, Death by Eagles, has done some really good things and strengthened his talent base. But when you strengthen your talent base, more is expected of you. Much like how the Lions won in real life last year, so now in the upcoming season, we're expected to do more. That's just the nature of winning. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Madden or real life or whatever. When you win, you're expected to keep winning. When you have talent, you're expected to win. And you're right. I think in the playoffs, he's definitely fell short when you might have given him the nod or thought he was a favorite.
In that division, also is he has to go up against the superhouse of the Giants, and until he can overtake the Giants, he's always going to be shooting for that wild card.
And that's a tough division to be in. And talking about these two divisional guys, I honestly don't think I don't think runners, skill-wise, I know they do different things. I don't think he's too much far behind the Eagles in just overall skills. I know they do different things, but that division, you can only have so many winners, It's amazing we have that division is so loaded, but then the Bills can get in, but someone's got to win your division, and we can't, pick and choose who's who. So going down to the Giants, what do you think about the Giants?
Well, he just keeps rolling along slowly and surely. But he's got the Eli Manning going.
Yes, yes, he does.
He does, and that running and attack is lethal. I mean, he just has the combination, and the defensive line, you can't really. The defensive line is just so stellar that you can't really put anybody else up against that defensive line.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I know you've talked about this many times. His infrastructure, the way he's built his team, it's pretty much identical to the real team. I mean, if a Giants fan came in and this guy had to leave for whatever reason, and a Giants purist came in, he'd be very happy with the way the roster's set up because he hasn't made a lot of changes, and he's still found a way to win. So that only strengthens what kind of owner he is.
And the Giants also, I checked the injuries real quick, and it's never seemed like the Giants has had a major injury to an Eli, to a Bradshaw, or Hicks. So he's found that groove, and he's just going along, mowing people down.
Oh, trust me, his name is Nix. I met plenty of Hicks back in my my hillbilly days in Michigan, so I know the difference. But Hakeem Nicks, he's a stud. He's a stud wide receiver. He's definitely elite. In Madden, outside of Madden, this receiver is for real, and he really manages Eli Manning the right way. So that only utilizes, his ability when you got a running game, when you got a manager, if you will. I kind of hate that term sometimes, but when you got all those pieces and then you throw in a monster, superstar like Hakeem Nicks, only going to get better and better. And that's the scary thing because the Giants have skills. He has a lot of skills. What do you think of the Giants prediction wise? Do you think he's obviously probably a Super Bowl favorite again, isn't he?
Oh yeah, you have to put him up there until someone knocks him off.
Vikings or Giants this year coming out of the NFC?
What's that?
I said coming out of the NFC, who it is? The Vikings?
I have to go with the favorite. The favorite is the Giants. They're Super Bowl champs until you can knock them off. You have to give the nod to them.
Yeah, I'm going Vikings, man. He's in my division. I got to give him some love. I haven't had the best of seasons so far. So if anyone out of my division can win it, at least I can say I lost to a Super Bowl champion twice. And that's the reason I suck, even though it may not be. At least I can use that as an excuse for at least a season. See, this always happens to me, man.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Adam Schefter was breaking some free agent news. But talking about free agents, though, we talked a lot about it season one, about Lawrence Tupu, Terrell Owens was out there as a free agent. I remember we did a whole show about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it brought it up because, the real NFL is on free agency. Looking back, and having, what are we, 2 seasons in, 3 seasons in, something like that, it's a lot of draftees now, a lot of, teams are looking more, how do I want to say, almost fantasy based a little bit because of the draftees. Do you still think you can find a dynamic player in free agency this late in a Madden season?
I wouldn't say no. I would say no, not at this point. You would have to do, the early shopping, early when week one, right before week one started. Yeah, no. Right now, it's pretty dried up.
Well, I know right now. I'm saying like when we do our bids, do you think we saw Justin Durant go for a lot? We saw Do you really think these plug and play free agents are really going to change a team?
If you have a major weakness somewhere, and you can fill that void with somebody, like a Justin Durant, when you're weak at linebacker, yeah, you're gonna fill that void. You know what I mean? You should be able to.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think in the first season when there's a lot of good free agents, but it seems that most people this far in the season they hold on to the good guys. You don't. I'm not gonna let Kelvin Johnson go. And Madden last year, I gave him a similar contract, a 7-year deal. You held on to Breeze when Breeze became a free agent. A lot of the big time guys, they're not gonna be free agents. I don't think. Now we do have leagues like that. Just Gridiron's not one of those. Let's go on to a different team now. Let's see. The Washington Redskins. I got a particular question about the Washington Redskins. Do you think Peter Newcomer's the guy? I mean, he's been in the league long enough. He's not a rookie anymore. Do you think this guy, say potentially the last season, could he win it? Could he?
Yeah.
Is he a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, he's a franchise quarterback, but he doesn't have the pieces, really around to really, help him overall. I mean, the wide receiver, core is not, you got Greg Littles, you got, Santana Mosses, Fred Davises, so I think he's missing a big playmaker on, the offensive side of the ball. The defense side of the ball is really good. So, you're kind of putting too much maybe emphasis on, Newcomer's shoulders,
Yeah, I think of him as a younger Michael Vick, and if you put weapons around him, you have results like the Eagles maybe, but I don't think he can lead a team. I don't think he's a Peyton Manning, he's a Drew Brees. I think he's a great asset. He's almost a Tim Tebow with a better arm, or a Michael Vick, or even a Cam Newton. I don't think Cam Newton would be great without weapons around him. Without I just don't. You couldn't take Tim Tebow definitely and put him in a different any system. I don't think you could. Michael Vick wouldn't adapt to every system. It's just some guys fit. And I will say the Washington Redskins did a good job at getting players that Peter Newcomer, weapons that Peter Newcomer will like. Now, you don't see him making any big splashes next season or anything, do you? I think he's a good player. He's just in a really tough division of again we talk about this division and it's Cowboys, Philly, Giants, Washington.
Yeah.
It may be the hardest division.
And the thing is with the Redskins is he's gonna get better because he's playing these teams twice a year. So when you play the Giants twice a year, year after year,
yeah,
your gameplay is gonna get better because you're playing such high competition. So that's the best way the Redskins can go with that.
Well, and remember we did this the first season. That's why I thought it was ironic, and we were due for another team by team breakdown. Whether we do it all tonight, or if we break it into 2 days, whatever. But we kind of owed it to the people, and before We were talking about the Washington Redskins as the worst team in Madden that you could take. We were looking at the roster. I remember us breaking it down,
Yep.
in the old days, and you could still see our faces. And trust me, at least for me, I still look as ugly as ever. But, times have changed in gridiron, and this team's, a pretty good team now. And what he had and what he started out, with, and really his time change difference being in, I think, Russia. And all these things, the owner is really, he deserves a lot of credit. Let's talk about my division now, and I didn't do this on purpose or anything. I am the next team up, so I'm gonna let you take it, Stocks. I'm not gonna talk about my team too much.
Well, yeah, like, I've known, we've played this year. We had a decent game against each other. The Detroit Lions, have pieces. You came up with Mike Williams in the trade with me,
Yeah.
Sean Rogers. You have the pieces in place. I think it's gonna come down to identity also with you,
Mhm.
and the turnovers. It's Detroit Lions can't kill themselves by turning the ball over.
Yeah.
When you shoot yourself in the foot, you're just gonna give another team, the extra opportunities. Whereas if you didn't give those opportunities to them, the game's going to be a battle. Just because of the pieces you have, with
Yeah.
LaShore, great pounder inside, and then you have the deep threats. So
People assume I hate running. That's not the case. Usually I'm so far down in the game that you have to run it. And we've talked about this, and you can go back to it. It's a few weeks ago. I broke down the quarterback by quarterback. Every winning quarterback in the division, maybe the exception of a few guys, but the consensus was if you throw it more than 25 times a game, the likelihood of you winning was an 80% chance of a loss on your record. If you throw it more than 25 times, you threw it about 25, a little bit under that, the winning percentage went way up. So there's only about a 20% chance of winning when you threw over 25 passes.
well, the stat of the player that stands out most is Matthew Stafford with 12 touchdowns this year, 35 interceptions, 2,200 yards passing, and only a 39.2 quarterback rating.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was that bad.
Yeah, it comes down to Matthew Stafford. It's him giving the other team opportunities. When if he wasn't given those opportunities, you'd be in a battle with you because the gameplay is there. It's just you're giving the other team too many opportunities.
Yeah, I don't want to break down my, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I'm in a lot of the games. I am. I come back against Manny. I was down 28-0. In the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go. In the fourth quarter pretty much I scored a lot of my points. On bombs. I don't want to bomb it anymore, man. I want to be able to tote the ball, but it just seems in key moments, I make the worst decisions. And it's not even about math. I think if you could put Drew Brees behind there, Tom Brady behind, I am who I am. I need to change it. I mean, I'm the guy hitting the button on my joypad, whatever. I'm the one that needs to change a little bit. Now, granted, you do psychologically blame the quarterback a lot. So I do blame Matthew Stafford as himself. So sometimes you do lose confidence in the guy. And so a quarterback change can be good. Although, I'm a Lions fan, so I'm never going to get rid of Matthew Stafford. Probably not anyways. I'm just hoping for Madden 13, maybe with better ratings, I can kind of get this Madden curse off my hands because, I heard it from everyone. When I play good, I play good. Last season, I was within 3 points of beating the Vikings, who's basically undefeated this season. I had Manny beat last season. I almost beat the Bears this season, and then his defensive end picked me off. So I have untimely weird interceptions at the wrong time. A defensive end picking off the ball of all people and returning it 65 yards. All these things happen to me, and it's not just the game's fault. I know that, but yeah, I need to get better. And what do you think about me for next season?
Well, you gotta reckon right now you're going to have another decent pick with your draft. And if you can stay at that position wherever you're going to end up and take best available player or fill a void or make a strength that you have
even stronger.
even stronger. You know what I mean? That can be deadly with you. But you do rank 31st in the league points scored. So
yeah,
you got to score points. I know you don't have the ball to score points because you're giving it back.
Yeah, I give it back a lot.
Stafford's INTs. Your rushing is 31st in the league. Those need to improve.
And a lot of them go hand in hand, as I know. If you're down, you got to throw a lot more than you like.
Yeah, exactly. So with a couple decent draft picks next coming season, you're still going to get a good player. And who knows what you're going to do in free agency or a couple of trades. You have the pieces in place to make a turnaround. 8-8 or see 500.
Well, I'm really good on defense, especially situationally. I'm 8th against the pass defensively. I'm within the top 10 in pass, and then yards allowed. I only allow 384, which is 17th best in the league. For a guy who's playing defense quite a bit because of his interceptions, that's not bad at all. I just need to turn around my passing game. It's point blank. So because it kind of makes my stomach ill, we'll move on to another team. We'll go to your Packers in real life, and well, I don't even know if I should call them the Packers. I'm going to start calling them the Green Bay Mannies because he does all these trades. Heck, man, it might work for him. He obviously beats me pretty bad when we play. I'm not about to say his moves are totally horrible in every aspect, but some of the moves are questionable, but he's also made some really good moves as well. They're just not your grandma's Packers anymore. And she probably refused to pay taxes because, they're not they're not the Packers, Clay Matthews is gone. A lot of guys are gone. Clifton's gone. He's got Ray Rice in there now. Starks is gone. Jennings is gone. A.J. Hawk is gone. Gone seems to be the theme. Though he has brought in some pretty nice pieces here and there. If you could go in the virtual world, would you be happy with this Packer team?
No. I mean, he's not. Don't get me wrong. I love Ray Rice. Ray Rice is a great running back.
Yeah, his moves aren't bad. It's just I'm surprised for being such a real life Packers fan. He's made some of these moves. To be completely honest.
The tight end situation is baffling to me. When we could have, in Madden, not in real life because I don't think of Finley that high, but in Madden terms, he's a 98, I think, this year with the Eagles. And you're going to a second-class Jacob Tammy. It just, it's just, that kind of baffles me. Why you would want to have that?
Well, this is kind of what Manny is. When he plays really good offense, he wins a game. Because listen to his defensive rankings. He's 11th in points. He's 10th in yards. He's 12th against the pass, and he's 13th against the rush. That tells me that he's very balanced across the defense. Maybe he's not going to be the best rush, defense. Maybe he's not going to be the best pass, stopping team, have any lights out, shut down corners. But he's very balanced in the way he approaches it. He's ready to stop the run. He's ready to stop the pass. But on the offensive side, you were saying, and there's been a lot more offensive moves, at least big ones, than there has been on the defense. He's 10th for rushing the ball, so that's good. But listen to some of these. He's 29th for passing. He's 25th for, yards offensively, and 20th for points. And it comes down to points. You said the same thing with me. When you can't score, you're not going to have a winning record. That's Madden. It's all about scoring. You know, in real life you can play some defense. Defense wins championships, we know, but Madden, it seems like, you know, offense kind of rules the day, if you will. He's 4-5. What do you think he'll do next season, or what do you think he'll do this season?
I just kind of, you know, I think he's in limbo. Man, he's a great player. I mean, he's a solid, tough player. I mean, I've played him plenty of times. He does well on both sides of the ball. He knows if you're trying to do something, he's going to sniff it out. But I think it comes down to Manny with his player. You know, the players that he has around him it's too interchangeable that what he does all the time. You know, and it's tough to get in a groove when you have guys shuffling in and out like a conveyor belt. You know, so if Manny can, you know, kind of stick with the team, he's the type of player and skill-wise that can make a run at a Super Bowl.
Well, luckily for Manny, that trade deadline is over, so he's got to stick with this team. No, I mean, honestly, Manny, I don't care what moves you make. Ray Rice was a good, you know, move. I didn't agree with the Clay Matthews move, but okay. You know, you go and get Mike Sims Walker, you get obviously the best offensive lineman in the draft last season. You know, he's an absolute anchor on the offensive line, but you gave up, you know, Greg Jennings. Okay, if that's what you want to do, you want to go get your big anchor, your big guy, Ray Rice. But then why did you trade, you know, Hawk? There's got to be, I don't know, maybe I'm just old school, but whatever philosophy you want to go with is completely fine, you know. Heck, if you want to have, you know, Matt Castle throw the ball, you know, Aaron Rodgers throw the ball, I don't care what you do. Heck, bring in a high school quarterback for all I care, Manny. Bring in one of your foreign exchange students from Italy. I don't care what you do, man. My point is you need to stay, you know, committed. You can't, when you're interchanging so many guys, man, you're giving oil changes when oil changes aren't due, man. Put some miles on those tires first. Because a lot of times you don't know what you got until a few games because, I mean, that's not the same. And I'll bring stocks back in now. That's partly EA's fault because we don't have a practice mode. I think we really, really need one. Really bad.
Yeah.
And once we do, then people will be able to play with teams. But it's not just Manny. I've seen other guys make, you know, irrational trade. And like I said, some of Manny's moves were great. I think even all of them could be great if he would just stick with a philosophy. And we said the same thing about me. Said the same thing about Runner. We just don't have that identity. We're searching. You know, and when you're searching, this far in the season, forget about it, man. It's over, man. Just write it off. Because, I mean, that's the one thing I will give you credit for that you did this season. Because you haven't had the best of seasons, especially early on. And we'll try to get back to better teams. For some reason, we always get sidetracked against Manny. It's not going to happen to me now. I'm moving on. I'm going to talk about your division, and I'm going to bring you back into it. That's what I respect about you, though. When you were losing, you know, you could have easily traded Drew Brees. I know you were taking offers. You don't got to talk about them publicly here, but I know you were taking offers from, you know, this guy, that guy, left guy, right guy, you know, wherever it was coming from. But you stuck with a philosophy. You stuck with it because you blamed yourself. You know, and I'm not saying Manny doesn't blame himself. I mean, I know we all want to trade guys, you know, when we lose. I wanted to trade guys, but sometimes you just got to stick with what you got. And that's what you did. Now you're on top of your division. So, I know Stocks, he's oftentimes like me, you're not going to talk about his team a lot in an egotistical way. But if I could get your opinion, I know you probably don't want to tip too much to the defense. What do you think of these two tight ends you got? I know you got one of them with my draft pick, one of them with yours. I can't remember how it went, but what do you think of Cole and Graham together?
Yeah, the two-set tight end is slowly coming into play. I guess I'm finally learning how to, you know, use them both at the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, find the weakness in the defense and utilize, you know, Cole because, you know, like you said, we don't have that practice mode, and I've never done really the two tight end set a lot. So I think now I'm finding that niche, and it's working, you know. But yeah, I think both both of them are making each other better because, when you double someone, the other one's going to be singled. So vice versa. And I think, they both have great skills and height and speed. And, they're just great for a breeze quarterback.
Right. We obviously can't get through everyone all the time, so, I'm trying to break these teams down as quick as I can. I'll give you some quick notes about Tampa because I don't think there's a lot of moves from Tampa. There won't be a lot of trades, these kind of things. Here's what it boils down with me for Tampa. He's made great improvements. He's a good player. He didn't start off, the first couple seasons great, but he really found what kind of guy he is, and he didn't try to push the issue. He didn't try to make himself something he's not. Now he's got to experiment, I think, a little bit with Freeman. He's got to get a little bit more comfortable, and we've talked about it again and again and again, and here it is again. And we need that practice mode because people aren't comfortable with their quarterbacks. Look at some of the interceptions, the touchdown ratios in this league. It all boils down to the quarterback, and when you play in other leagues with other quarterbacks, other situations, you need to get familiar with your team, and you can't do it when you don't have practice modes and when you don't have opportunities to actually use them besides in a game. Because you know what that does if you don't have that.
Yeah, and as the Tampa Bay goes, I've played them already quite a bit of times. I think, Freeman is kind of on the same boat as, as Stafford, that I think he's throwing that costly interception where the game is really tight and really close.
Yeah, it's not...
And it's just falling apart for him there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's about the deep pass getting picked off or the short pass. I think it's just timely interceptions, like you said, with Matthew and with Tampa. Again, it comes down to, I know I'm not the most, explosive, just dynamic, oh my God, pick up the controller and I got this game in 5 seconds. Some guys are like that. I envy that skill. I really do. I need that practice mode to get familiar with my quarterback. And like I said, we're going to try to hit this quick. The reason that Tampa's not winning consistently is because he's not comfortable with the quarterback. He needs that familiarity, and he hasn't found it. Because a lot of times when you're trying new things or you're trying to feel out your team, if you're doing that within a game, by the first quarter you could be doomed, with lack of better words. What do you think of the Panthers, real quick, like 2 minutes or less?
Yeah, again, in my division, it all starts with Cam Newton. Cam Newton is one solid quarterback. He can do everything.
Could you plug him in another system? Say I put him
at his ability right now, I think so. Yeah, I think he could. He would do better with with a deep threat. The good underneath. He has Greg Olsen. He's very good with Greg Olsen underneath. He will just chew you up. With that, and with a decent running back and just do it. The Panthers are, like you said, I've always looked at them as a dangerous team. He just, for some reason, hasn't put it yet together.
He's not consistent, in my opinion. He's really, really good at but he hasn't consistently done it. He's been in a few close ones with you. Would it come down to one game? Who was going to get to the playoffs a few years ago? Maybe last season?
Yep.
Or season before that? I can't remember. One game, winner gets in the playoffs. And it just seems like in big moments, he beats the teams he's supposed to beat, but in big moments, he kind of lets you down. And I hope the best for the Panthers. I've had a lot of good talks with the guy. The guy knows what he's doing. He's just got to figure out how to jump that hurdle. And sometimes you got to take a step back and get some speed before you. Would you make a trade if you're the Panthers? Maybe. It's kind of late to be making trades. Last season, but do you think he's like one player away, or or do you think his team's good? He just needs to do this or that and tweak it.
Yeah, I think he has some players. I think maybe you could use another wide receiver on the other side of Steve Smith.
That's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, so I think that would help. So in that case, the defensive side of the ball is very stout. He's got one of the best linebackers in the league, and we never even mentioned John Beeson. So
John Beeson is the most underrated linebacker in the league.
Yeah. So he's definitely got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball to carry that team.
Definitely. I'm purposely saving the Atlanta Falcons for later, so we'll move on. What about the St. Louis Rams? Mm-hmm.
and he, he's kind of baffling to me. He's is he coming out of the hole or is he not? That's the question.
He's experimenting, and I think that's it. He's experimenting. You know, a little too much in my opinion. Maybe he finally met some better teams because I know he had me on the schedule early. You know, and all the I think he's got potential, and he's learning on the job. And when you learn on the job, there's gonna be bumps and there's gonna be roads. But I'll encourage this guy. I think he's on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. But like you said, when you get there, don't back away. Don't get scared. What got you to the dance is what got you to the dance, and you don't know it's March Madness. I don't know how big a fan you are, but they always tell those guys, if you're a lower seed and you're playing a higher seed, you're on the same basketball floor as the other guy. Just because the front of his jersey or his reputation, you know, you guys touch the ball. The clock still runs on your side. There's nothing really changes. It's still 12 guys versus 12 guys in the terms of football. I think he's gotta eliminate this one thing he does a lot. If he's playing a better team, he gets a psyche about him. He gets psyched out, man. Once he eliminates that, then I think he'll be all right.
And the Rams could use definitely a playmaker. You know, the biggest playmaker on defensive side of the ball is Laurinaitis, and that's not a household name. So maybe a flashy cornerback or a pass rusher or something maybe next year.
He's definitely done some really good things. I think it's a confidence thing, man. When you're playing really good teams, so what, man? You guys touch the ball the same amount of times. You get the same chances. The coin doesn't flip flop in yet, a different way than it usually does. Just go out there and play. And I need to learn that lesson myself. Let me give you a few more teams here. What do you think about the Vikings and the Bears?
Well, you want to talk about the Vikings first?
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings. You take the Bears.
Okay.
The Vikings, a really good player. I've talked about him a few times. And Ryan Mallett, I said, I think season one, me and Stock said this, that he could be a starting quarterback in this league. And right now he's putting up MVP-like numbers. I'll repeat it again. Ryan Mallett is my MVP mid-season, MVP right now because he's just doing it. The team's doing it. He doesn't have a weakness. I mean, trust me, we don't have to talk about him anymore because we'll be talking about him plenty of times in the playoffs. Hands down, the guy's good. He's got Adrian Peterson. He's got Dallas Strong, who even though he's not playing in Dallas, he should have a star on his helmet. So, again, we'll be talking about him plenty more, enough times. Let's get into another team that maybe, like fate like mine, just so happens, isn't going to make it very far in the playoffs, if at all, to the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears are at 6-3 right now, and they're pretty solid, but they have a key injury in Percy Harvin with an abdominal tear for 9 weeks. I mean, that Percy Harvin does a little bit of everything. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he does punt, he does kick. I mean, so he's a vocal point of that team, and I don't know how slowly that's going to hurt that team, but the Bears could be a dangerous team because they have a nice, running back in Rodman Brooks. So with Jay Cutler at helm, he's putting up a decent year. He's at 2,500 yards passing, 20 touchdowns. So yeah, the Bears, with the 4-6 defense again, can give you fits.
And he mixes in that dime more a little bit more, so he's realized that people were passing on him and almost exploiting his weakness. So again, he made the adjustments, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if he can make the playoffs. Again, I mean that division's tough, just like the Eagles division. But I'll tell you what, in the Giants. But I'll tell you what, the guy does everything right at times. I just don't know about him. And he's a lot like the Panthers in your division. He wins the games he's supposed to win, but then he comes up with that baffling loss every once in a while. Like, really? You lost to that guy? He plays down to his competition a lot. If he would play consistently at one level, he'd be across the board talented, I think that running back, like you said, though, is very good. And I think it's Jay Cutler's best year under him. So that's something to build upon. Seattle Seahawks. They don't give you a lot of news, do they? I think Stocks was running for the stat board because he didn't know much about him.
No, I have to admit I don't know too much about the Seahawks.
And honestly, I'm doing the same thing.
The owner's not very active. Like I don't think I've really got the chance to chat with him. Which is fine. I mean, it's not for but he plays his games. We
Yeah.
don't have problems if we don't hear him about cheating or whatever. So yeah, I have to go in depth and look him over because, like we said, he's kind of the quiet guy. On the forum.
Yeah, he's the quiet kid in class, but I don't mind, man. He really, I think he's really important to this league, like I am, and like the losing teams, because somebody's got to lose. We've talked about this over and over. Not all 32 teams in any sport, Madden included, can win. And when you lose as much, as he might or I might or whatever, it's tough, man. And for him to still do it, and for this league really quickly to still be at, 31 to 32 owners consistently week after week after week. And we've been getting our games in earlier, so I gotta give that credit before anything else, because this guy's lost some games like I have. Man, I'll tell you firsthand, it sucks. There's nothing good about it, but I'll tell you what, I've looked up some stats. He's 8th against the rush on defense. He's 10th in allowing points. He does not allow points. He's 11th in yards. He's 15th in the pass. So again, a little bit like Manny, he might not be perfect at one area of pass or rush defense, but combined, he's 10th for points allowed, and that's really good for a team that's 2-7.
And just before the trade deadline, he made a trade with Cincinnati. Gave Camp Chancellor and a first-round pick to Cincinnati for a 4th round, Taylor Mays and Jason McCourty. So, he's trying to dig himself out of the hole, which you have to condemn.
I give him credit for that because people will be like a first-round pick, but you gotta understand we might play one more season, so that first-round pick may not be as valuable as say our first season in the league. I wouldn't have done that trade, but now it makes sense. He has enough young guys. He's been losing like I have. He understands that. He's got to start, putting pieces together. I'll tell you what, his defense is right there. Oftentimes, like me, it's just, again, you said it when you were talking about me, and it's the same song. You can go back and rewind the tape even. You got to score points. He's 30th offensively for scoring points. 30th, man. There's only 2 teams worse, and they might be me and me. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you got to score points in this league, and that's why he's 2-7. I think, I left one team on purpose, and that is, the 49ers, but we can talk about him next time because the guy's not really active. He hasn't done a lot of good things, and I think again, they got the team, but if you don't believe the philosophy, we've had a lot of guys come in and try to fix that team and try to do different things and win. And we saw the one owner who made it to the playoffs. But the problem is no one believes in that roster, I'm thinking, in this league. And hopefully maybe next year we'll see a better roster with the 49ers. But I want to get to stocks before we run out of time here. We got a new Falcons owner. And we got about 5 minutes. And I want you to tell this Falcons guy, being in your division, what it is to be a gridiron gamer.
We could do the whole podcast about that. No, in general, I mean, you're in a community with a bunch of great, genuine guys that come here to play and have fun, and the camaraderie is just it's amazing the way you look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
you got all these people all over the world, and we all come together, 32 players. And
Well, we commune on Sundays, the real Sundays. We all get together and have our real teams. Stocks and Manny, they're getting together. They're the Packer fans. You got a lot of Bears fans. I think I might be the only Lions fan in there, so I'm okay standing alone. But you got all these guys who play their games and have this fantasy reality of being general managers. But then on Sunday, we also come together and we watch real football, and it really transcends what we are. We're not just a Madden football league where we hit the joy pads, a couple times. we're kind of all friends in a way, even though we do bicker a lot, Stocks.
Oh yeah, well yeah, but that's the way stuff happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all come with a common goal, and
But
what's best for the league is that's the way we are.
I want to thank this guy for coming because it's really hard to come this late in the season. No, he has to know we're only going to get through maybe one more season. So he's basically got, because he interpreted a team. We won't mention the guy's name. I don't think he even deserves credit. He interpreted a team in mid-season, like, what is this, like our fourth season? You know,
Yeah.
It's hard to do. He's going to get one season, really, a complete season to prove what he has, and it may not even be the roster he wants.
It may not be his style. You know what I mean? So yeah, we have to definitely thank him for doing this because the only thing the best thing that can happen to him is him getting better just by playing, like the Giants and the top-notch guys, like the Raiders and stuff.
I guess I kind of pull for this guy because I was a lot like him coming into this league, and I don't know how many people know this. When I came into the league, I took over the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
They had a horrible quarterback in Matt Castle. You can say what you want about Matt Castle. I do not like him at all. You see the Kansas City Chiefs, and Lord, he sat down Matt Castle. He's a backup now. I mean, Madden 11, Madden 10, whatever. It all translated to Matt Castle wasn't very good. The point is I didn't interpret a really good team, but I stuck with it. And that's when I met Stocks. And that's when I realized how good this league is. So I hope it's a lot like that for this guy. I hope he takes over the Falcons. He really buys into kind of rebuilding this team because a lot like me, even though I tell you what, that tight end you got is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That tight end he's the Kelvin Johnson's of tight ends, if that tells you anything.
Yep.
I wouldn't move that guy I wouldn't move him for anything, in my opinion, unless you get like a blockbuster. I'm talking about the whole franchise at Blockbuster. Take that whole movie rental place and move it to the ground. If you get that kind of deal, maybe. But this guy is really good. I think he's got some pieces to build around. Like you said, it might not be his philosophy, but all you gotta do is keep talking to these guys because we're pretty. It's got to be pretty intimidating though, man. Few last couple seasons. And really, we haven't had a lot of changeover, so a lot of these guys have known each other for a while. So, I got to give that guy credit. And good luck to you. I hope you stay, because I don't know. I think Stocks is a good guy, and you'll play him twice a year. You'll see it. There's other good sim guys in this league, and you'll really see this is one of the best leagues. You talked about it, Stocks. We have guys from overseas, Italy, Russia, Canada. To some that's overseas, to Americans that's like next door neighbors, but I mean, you got all these guys, but we all come together and we all make it work, and this is a good place to be. So that's it for me. I think we broke down most of the NFC. We'll do AFC coming up soon. This is kind of my apologies for not having a consistent podcast. Don't expect this all the time, because I'll tell you what, it's killing my breath, man.
Yeah, the thing is how many people are going to listen to an hour podcast?
Well, that's the thing, but, we broke down almost every team in the NFC, and we still kept it under an hour.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good for how quick we move. Now, I don't know how many people will listen to it, but we do get about 18 to 19 hits. What I would like, while we still have time, so I know who listens to it, so I can give you more airtime, because, hey, I'm going to be that guy. If you listen to a show, we're going to talk about you more. What I want you to do, go onto the boards, because Manny's away for the week. I'm the active interim commissioner. So, again, if anything happens, let me know. I don't expect anything to happen. These guys are good. But it won't go up on the XFN website like a lot of you find it. It's going to be in the boards. But what I need you to do is tell me that you watched it. Leave me a comment. Leave the Stocks a comment. We'll check the boards. We need to know who watches this, man, so we can talk about them, because it only makes sense to talk about the people who listen.
Definitely.
Otherwise, we're wasting our breath slowly. So, all right, man, I'm going to get out of here.
All right.